Good evening from Banjul and welcome to the news on GRTS. In the headlines tonight, President Jammeh joins fellow African leaders in the Equatorial Guinea capital Malabo for the 17th ordinary session of the African Union Heads of State and Government Summit. Vice President Ajah Dr. Aissatou Njie Saidi holds consultations with senior officials of the Gambia's development partners on the fringes of an FAO Rome conclave. The International Criminal Court dispatches a team of judicial investigators to Cote d'Ivoire tasked with the responsibility of probing war crimes allegations, and the opposition in the Democratic Republic of Congo laments the lackluster voter registration exercise, especially in the capital Kinshasa, 8 days before the end of the process. These stories and much more coming ahead in the news. I'm Aissatou Dabo. Thank you for joining us. His Excellency the President of the Republic of the Gambia, Sheikh Professor Alhaji Dr. Yahya AJJ Jammeh, accompanied by a high-ranking delegation this afternoon, left Banjul International Airport for Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, to attend the 17th ordinary session of the African Union Heads of State and Government Summit. The President was seen off by the Vice President and Minister of Women's Affairs, ministers, security service chiefs, legislators, and members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps. Well, President Jammeh and delegation have arrived in the Equatorial Guinea capital, Malabo. The Gambian leader and delegation were received by the Prime Minister of Equatorial Guinea. The Vice President and Women's Affairs Minister has been engaging officials of the Gambia's development partners in a bid to strengthen and deepen the existing cooperation between the organization and the Gambia government. Francis Mendy was with Madam Njie Saidi and delegation in Rome, and he now tells us more about those side meetings.
The break between programs accorded the Vice President and Minister of Women's Affairs, Ajah Dr. Aissatou Njie Saidi, the opportunity to meet with officials of multilateral organizations. Madam Njie Saidi's side meetings in Rome started with a courtesy call on Dr. Jacques Diouf, the Director General of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. Diouf, who has been at the helm of the FAO for some 18 years, is set to retire at the end of the year. Vice President Ajah Dr. Aissatou Njie Saidi also held talks with Sanafode Keba Jatta, the International Fund for Agricultural Development's Country Program Manager for the People's Republic of China. After the closed-door meeting, Jatta told GRTS that Madam Njie Saidi was exploring the possibility of establishing links with the fund to further develop rural Gambia and the agricultural sector.
We were able to put her in contact with the director of the Division for Western Central Africa of the International Fund for Agricultural Development, as well as I offered for her to be able to meet our president, the President Felix Wanze, Kanayo Felix Wanze, who is a Nigerian, now the president of IFAD since 2 years now. And together, the idea is to see how the Gambia and IFAD can work much closely together to develop the agricultural sector and make sure that rural poverty, which is a scourge in the whole world now, rural poverty can be alleviated much faster.
A day after the meeting between the Vice President and the IFAD China Country Program Manager, Gambian national Sanafode Keba Jatta, IFAD's Director for the Africa 1 Division, Mohamed Biavogu, met with Madam Njie Saidi.
I had the opportunity, of course, to be received by the Vice President of Gambia during her visit in Rome. And, of course, what comes immediately on the table is the cooperation between the government of Gambia and my institution, the International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD. As you know, we have a long-standing cooperation. We have an important program and a portfolio of projects in the country. And this was an opportunity, of course, to look at where we are, what kind of progress are we doing, and do we have a real impact on the ground, you know, with the investment we are putting in Gambia. That's one of the issues that was discussed. The second issue was about the new Gambian Agricultural Investment Program, GNIPE, which is in cabinet presently being discussed. This investment program sensitized the vision of Gambia for the development of the rural sector in the country, including agriculture, environment. And she presented this to us, the ambitions of the government, and of course requested that we bring some support, particularly with the funding gap.
The Vice President wrapped up her French meetings with a Sunday morning closed-door meeting with Sheila Sisulu, the Deputy Executive Director of the World Food Programme. The issues that cropped up were cross-cutting.
The Vice President is very, very interested in the work of the World Food Programme, not only in disaster management, but also in nutrition. And we also discussed the issue of agriculture and access to food. So these 4 areas for us are also very important. We want to work with the Gambia on ensuring that during disasters, all population groups within a disaster area are able to access nutritious food timelessly. We share this with the Vice President, but also we want to work with the government of the Gambia to enable them to be able to use the tools that we have to manage disaster, to prepare for disaster, and more importantly, to prevent disasters. And so we're going to be cooperating very closely with the government on those areas.
2 women also discussed the Gambian National Agricultural Investment Plan. Francis Mendy, GRTS.
You can also follow that story and other GRTS programs live on our website at www.grts.gm. There you can also monitor GRTS Radio Live. Meanwhile, the Vice President and Chairperson of the National Security Council is continuing her tour of security installations and facilities across the country. Ajah Dr. Aissatou Njie Saidi and entourage, which include the heads of the different units that make up the national security apparatus, on Tuesday visited Sibanor Military Post, Sibanor Police Station, and Kafuta Tumbung Military Post. We hope to bring you more on that in our 10 p.m. news bulletin. Stakeholders drawn from government, civil society, and non-governmental organizations have launched the 2010 World Breastfeeding Trends Initiative report. The report, which shows a 90% mark of success for the country's breastfeeding performance, as reported by GRTS's Babukar Kamara, is meant to promote the health and well-being of infants, young children and their mothers through protection, promotion and support of optimal feeding practices.
It is indeed one of those days again when we sit as stakeholders to discuss about issues of great importance as far as public health is concerned in this country.
It is a one-day forum that is calling on stakeholders to review progress following a 90% rating for the country's breastfeeding trend, trapped in world records for the past years.
What gathers us here is of common interest. All of us sitting around this room this afternoon or morning have one common agenda, and that is to see a healthy Gambian population. And how do we get a healthy Gambian population is to lay the foundation, and the foundation is the children of this country. Without them, there is no future for this country. The theme is World Breastfeeding Trend Initiatives.
World Breastfeeding Trends Initiative is pioneered by the International Baby for Food Action Network, serving 200 public interest groups in 33 countries across the globe. Their mandate is to bring lasting changes in infant feeding practices at all levels.
This is aimed at enabling women to successfully breastfeed their babies, as well as provide adequate complementary feeding with continued breastfeeding after the age of 6 months. This report has been generated through the